I woke up with dust in my mouth and someone else's address on my tongue. Not a street I'd ever driven on. Not a city I'd ever visited. Just a house. In the dream, it always began the same. A front door standing open like a held breath, a hallway lit by a pale, clean glow that made every shadow look deliberate, and a feeling that the building was listening through its walls. The first time, I told myself it was anxiety, work, lack of sleep, too much coffee and not enough daylight. The second time, I wrote the address down. The third time, I woke up to find it already written. It was on the back of my left hand, in my own handwriting, like I'd signed my skin in the night. I stood in the bathroom, staring at the ink, and for a moment the mirror didn't feel like glass. It felt like a window. My name is Hamza. I live alone. I keep the curtains half closed because sunsets make the room feel too honest. And I have a habit of pretending that if I don't look directly at a problem, it won't look back. So I washed my hand until the skin went red. The letters stayed. That day, I tried to bury myself in routine, emails, calls, a late lunch I didn't taste. But every time I blinked, I saw that hallway. Every time I swallowed, I tasted dust. At 3:17 p.m., my phone buzzed. No number. Just a notification that shouldn't exist. Home. I held the screen like it might burn me. Then, without thinking, I opened my Maps app and typed the address from my hand. It auto-completed after the first few letters, as if it had been waiting. The route drew itself in calm blue, a line that cut through my city and out into a stretch of outskirts I'd never had a reason to visit. Estimated time, 47 minutes. I laughed once, sharp and empty, and told myself this was ridiculous. Then I picked up my keys. The drive felt wrong in the way dreams feel wrong. Familiar roads wearing different coats, traffic lights changing too fast, billboards advertising things I couldn't remember ever being for sale. When the city thinned, the sky did too. The blue became pale. Not bright. Just washed. My radio refused to land on a station. Every frequency was a soft hiss, like the world whispering through clenched teeth. I turned it off. Silence was worse. By the time the maps told me to turn onto a narrow road, the trees had closed in like spectators. The air looked colder here, even through the windshield. The kind of cold that doesn't shimmer. It waits. And then I saw it. The house from my dreams. It sat back from the road behind weeds and a sagging fence, too large for the land it occupied, like it had been dropped there by accident and never bothered to leave. The windows were dark, but not broken. The paint was peeled, but not rotted. It wasn't dead. It was resting. I parked across the street and just stared. My chest tightened with an old, irrational certainty. If I went inside, something would recognize me. I tried to reverse. The gear shifted. The car rolled half an inch. Then the engine sputtered once and died. I sat there with both hands on the wheel, feeling my pulse in my fingertips. When I tried the ignition again, it clicked like a cheap toy. I checked my phone. No service. Of course. The front door of the house was open. Just enough to show a slice of darkness. In the dream, it was always open. In the dream, I always walked in. I told myself I was only going to knock, only going to prove to my brain that it had made a neat coincidence out of stress and bad sleep. I crossed the road. The weeds were taller than they should have been, brushing my shins like fingers testing fabric. The fence gate squealed when I pushed it, a thin, complaining sound that didn't echo. It got swallowed. As I stepped onto the path, the air changed. It smelled like paper left too long in a closed box. Dry, faintly sweet, time-stained. The porch boards didn't creak. They should have. But every step landed with a soft, padded thump, like the house was careful not to startle itself. I lifted my fist to knock. Before my knuckles touched the wood, a voice spoke from inside. Not loud. Not far. Right behind the door. It said my name. Hamza. It sounded like someone reading it for the first time, tasting the shape of it. I froze, breath caught halfway. Who's there? I managed. Silence. Then it said, "You're late." My mouth went dry. I don't. I think you have the wrong. The door moved. It didn't swing. It eased, like a polite invitation. Beyond it, the hallway waited exactly as I'd seen it. Pale light, clean edges, shadows arranged like furniture. On the wall to my left hung framed photos, all turned face down. Farther in, a staircase climbed into gloom. And somewhere deeper, something breathed. Not human, not animal. Just the sound of a house remembering to live. I should have run. Instead, I stepped over the threshold. The moment my shoe touched the floor, the air thickened. And behind me, the front door closed with a gentle, final click. The hallway light brightened a fraction, like an eye widening. A whisper slid through the walls, too soft to be words, but somehow clear in meaning. Welcome home. I turned around and yanked at the doorknob. It didn't budge. Not locked. Just uninterested. My phone in my pocket vibrated once. When I pulled it out, the screen was on. No signal, no apps. Only a single line of text, centered like a verdict. Did you dream me, or did I dream you? Somewhere upstairs, a floorboard finally creaked. Slow. Deliberate. As if someone had just stood up. And then footsteps began to come down the stairs. The footsteps didn't hurry. They had all the patience in the world, because the world outside didn't matter here. I backed away from the staircase and flipped the nearest frame. It wasn't a family portrait. It was my apartment, from an angle no visitor could have taken. The next frame was my office desk. The next was me asleep on my couch. The house didn't show memories. It showed proof. A figure stepped into the hallway. Tall, narrow, too still. Where a face should have been, there was a smooth surface that reflected nothing. Hamza, the voice said from inside the walls. What do you want? You. I don't belong here. You have been here, it said. So many nights. Dream is the place where doors are easiest. My phone vibrated in my pocket. One line of text. Turn over the last photo. My hands moved before my courage did. The final frame showed the hallway from above. And there I was, standing exactly where I stood now. In the photo, behind my shoulder, the figure loomed. But in the photo, it had a face. My face. I dropped the frame. It didn't shatter. It sank into the floorboards with a soft, swallowing sound. The figure took one step forward and the light rippled across the wood like water. I did not find you, the house said. You made a path. You keep leaving. I keep building. Panic cracked through me. I ran up the stairs. The steps flexed, warm under my feet, and the distance stretched like a nightmare. At the landing, I found a door and threw it open. Inside was a pale room with no windows and no furniture. Just a mattress on the floor. And a man asleep on it. Me. Not a photo. Not a reflection. A breathing body, curled like it was trying to become smaller than fear. From downstairs, the house spoke again. This is where you come when you cannot bear yourself. In the corner of the room, a second door stood half open, spilling a darkness that felt thicker than a shadow. My phone buzzed again. Choose what owns you. I understood with a cold clarity. The house was made of the parts of me I kept abandoning. Silence, isolation, the habit of running from my own thoughts. I looked at the sleeping me and felt something warmer than fear. Pity. I'm sorry, I whispered. Then I lay down beside him. The room exhaled. The light softened. The heartbeat in the walls slowed until it matched a calmer rhythm. The blank-faced figure filled the doorway, watching. When you stop running, the house said, the rooms can stop growing. The world tilted, not like falling, like waking. I opened my eyes on my couch at home, afternoon light slanting through half-closed curtains. My phone showed 3:17 p.m. My hand was clean. No ink. But in the bathroom mirror, a faint thumbprint sat on the glass, placed from the inside. That night I dreamed of the hallway again, smaller now, quieter. The front door was closed. Not locked. Just peaceful. If you're hearing this, maybe you've had a dream that keeps returning, a door that looks too familiar. Don't follow it just to prove you're brave. Follow it only if you're ready to stop leaving pieces of yourself behind. And if you want more stories like this, stories that linger like footsteps on a staircase, you already know where you are. You're listening to Bloody Chapter. Like, share, and subscribe for more stories that haunt the mind long after the sound fades. Because some doors, once they learn your name, never forget it.